Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We are doing a Q&A to celebrate, well, a few things. Firstly, it's Christmas, so why the hell not? Secondly, I am like this close to getting 100 subscribers and I don't really know when that's going to happen, so just call it an early celebration, if you will. I'm pretty confident it's going to happen unless some sort of absolute disaster happens. Fingers crossed. And the final reason being that I am very close to closing in on my very first year on YouTube. So pretty exciting times. So let's do something a little bit different to celebrate that. And what better way to do it than a Christmas Q&A? I asked you guys to send me in your questions on social media and you did not disappoint. I want to take this moment now to thank you for sending in your questions. Some of you I've had to group together because they were very similar or down the same path as each other. So hopefully I can cover everything you've asked. So let's begin with question 1. Other than movie reviews, do you cover any other media like video games or comic books, etc.? I'm certainly planning on it. I don't really know what though. I constantly have ideas about, it'd be good to talk about this music album that really interested me, or this book was really good and it really stayed in my head. But I always worry about the target audience. I've kind of set this up as a movie review channel and I don't know if I'm going to alienate people if I suddenly just say, this is a really good music album. So I sometimes talk myself out of going down these new paths, but I certainly want to, and I certainly will one day. What made you start the IMO Reviews channel? It's actually quite a good question. I don't know if the answer is that straightforward. I will try and cut the fat off it. I've always been mad about movies, but I've never really chased the dream because I was always of the impression that you kind of had to be blessed to work in film, or you had to be born in Hollywood, you had to be of that ilk to work in this field. But the more I've explored film, I've realized that really isn't the case at all. There are thousands of filmmakers out there, thousands that you will never have even heard of, thousands I've never even heard of, thousands of films that we don't even know exist. And some of them are genuinely brilliant. You don't have to be Martin Scorsese to do this. So I decided, screw it, what have I got to lose? Let's chase the dream. And I started studying film production, only problem being I started as the pandemic kicked off. Talk about timing, right? So my first year at uni was unfortunately really not much of a first year at uni. We mostly were sat at home listening to lectures through Zoom and falling asleep, as you can imagine. But I still had the drive to do this. I still wanted to learn. So something like opening a YouTube channel really was a knight in shining armor for me. It allowed me to continue editing. It allowed me to muck around with sound designs and learn how to do different editing techniques. It also let me become much more confident in front of the camera, let alone behind the camera. I look back at some of my early videos and shudder a little bit at how cringe I am, whereas now I notice myself, I feel a lot more comfortable doing this with experience. So yeah, that's really where it began, and frankly, I haven't looked back. What would you class as your perfect day? I think I recently experienced it when Liverpool beat Man United 5-0 at Old Trafford. That was pretty glorious, was it not? I think I'm quite easy to please. People who know me will be laughing at that statement because they will not agree, but I think I'm easy to please. First of all, we got to start the day with a lie-in. Nobody likes waking up to a 6 a.m. alarm. Then I'm thinking a full English breakfast with a good old-fashioned English cup of tea. Chances are I will stare out the window and assess the weather, and chances are it will be crap for the coming day. I'd probably take the dog for a very long walk. I do like walking the dog. I know that sounds like such an old man thing to say, but we have some really nice seafronts and seasides around here. So there's some really nice views to take in while you're going for a walk around here, and I do enjoy that. I'll probably go to the pub with a few friends and catch up, or spend some time with family, eat some good food, you know, that kind of thing. I'm not that crazy. I'm pretty down to earth in some regards. What is your all-time top 3 movies? It's very interchangeable for me. I see new things that sort of slowly creep their way in and maybe don't last the test of time, whereas some others have consistently been in that top 3 for me. So I'm going to go off the 3 most consistent top 3 for me. That was really wordy. I probably could have done that better. First up, Saving Private Ryan. This was an experience of a movie for me. I vividly remember going to school one day and it was like I'd missed a week of it because all of my friends were talking about this insane movie with brrr and bang and boom and blur and blood everywhere. And I just sort of sat there like, what are we talking about? As my friends quickly realised that I had not seen Saving Private Ryan and all sat there aghast, one of my very good friends at the time decided, come back to my place after school, I'll quickly chuck you the DVD, you're en route, run home, watch it, give it back to me tomorrow and we'll talk about it. And that's exactly what we did. I took the DVD, I went home, and I don't even remember taking off my school-time blazer. I remember just sticking it in what would have probably been PlayStation 2 at the time and just being fully engaged with the screen. As soon as that D-Day scene started, I was just hooked. And yes, the next day was an absolute joyride of just discussing this movie at full length with my friends. So Saving Private Ryan does have to be in my top 3. Apocalypse Now would also be in my top 3. Starting to see a running theme of war movies here. Is there something wrong with me, maybe? This is a very difficult movie. I think some of you are going to be like, steady on, Elliot, what's this all about? But this movie is in my top 3 because it just invades my brain. Every time I see it, it just stays with me. It's like an infection of a movie. You just feel it grab hold of you and make you think differently and assess the world differently, assess yourself differently. It's a film that just cracks through the bullshit of life in such a sharp, blistering way that I don't really experience in many films, especially not in this fashion, where it's so applicable to reality. These are, the Vietnam War really did happen. I think it's an absolute masterpiece of a movie, and I think it's only heightened by the fact that I'm well aware that making the movie was nothing short of an absolute disaster. This film had no right to be good, let alone a masterpiece. And finally, Goodfellas. I love Goodfellas. It was a bit of a toss-up between Goodfellas or Scarface. They're quite interchangeable for me, those two movies, but they are achieving different things. They're both gangster flicks, but they do set out their goals differently and achieve different stories, and they both do it perfectly well. But the reason I would pick Goodfellas over Scarface is I think the dialogue is much sharper in Goodfellas. I think the character depth is more, I don't want to say interesting, but relatable. Not that the people in Goodfellas are nice people. Tony Montana is such a force of his own. He is such a wrecking ball of a character, whereas, Henry Hill, on the other hand, he was sort of peer pressured into the situation. That's where I find the relatability more so to Goodfellas. I'm just as excited about putting on Goodfellas today as I was 10, 15 years ago when I first saw it. I just love that movie. Honourable mentions that maybe just sit outside a lot. I've already mentioned Scarface, but the others would probably be Pulp Fiction, Akira, and 2001 Space Odyssey. They're probably the 4, Scarface included, that just sit on the outside of my top 3. How do you look so amazing every day? First of all, stop it. You're too much. Secondly, you're not so bad yourself, Tiger. Have you ever met or talked to somebody famous? Do you know, I've had loads of weird occasions where I've been close by to someone famous or in the room with someone famous, but never actually spoken to them or shaken their hand. I mean, the prime example I can think of is Bernard Cribbins genuinely once asked me if I could just step out aside because I was just blocking his path to get through. He asked me very politely, by the way. I wasn't saying that in a bad way. And of course I said, oh yeah, sure, no worries, and stepped aside, and then did that sort of thing where I went, was that Bernard Cribbins? Turns out it was, but is that really meeting Bernard Cribbins? Or because I don't think Bernard Cribbins is going to remember me, so I don't know if I can actually count that one. But that's what I mean. I've had loads of those sort of experiences. I remember I walked past Olivia Colman once and was just sort of like, but sadly never got to speak to the lovely lady. I would absolutely love to meet her. I think she's an absolute gem. But if we're talking people I've actually spoken to and shaken their hand and spent some actual time with, Robert Englund, for sure, of Freddy Krueger fame. He was an absolute sweetheart of a man. He just had something about his aura. He's so, welcoming, and you just feel your guard go down around him. You feel like you've known him forever. I felt myself not being myself around him because he was so inviting and welcoming. I walked away just like, what a lovely man. What a really nice bloke. And one that is quite close to my heart is I thankfully got to meet Peter Mayhew, the actor of Chewbacca. And again, he was an absolute sweetheart, a total pro. I don't mean this derogatory, but it was very evident that his health was declining at this time. But he never let it show for 1 minute. He never complained about it. He was there from start to finish, and he saw all of his fans that had come out to see him. And he treated all of us with every bit of energy and excitement as he did the last one. I just have so much respect and props for that. He must have been in such physical pain, and not for a minute did he even let it show in a wince of an eye. He was asking me about my dad and how, you know, I looked, at the time he thought I looked a bit too young to understand Star Wars, but I was like, no, I love it just like everybody else. My dad put it on VHS when I was like 6, and he was like, I'll keep you quiet for a few hours. A few weeks more like. I watched that thing to death, as you can imagine. He was an absolute treasure. I'm genuinely quite honoured to say I got to meet him before his time came. Rest in peace. This is the question that I mentioned that was squashed together because they were all quite similar. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? / what is your dream place to visit? / where's the best place you've ever been? If I could live anywhere in the world, it's a bit of a cop-out, but I'd probably go and live in Liverpool. I can get myself a season ticket and watch the games regularly. But on top of that, I actually just love the city. I think it's such a great place. The people there are so friendly. There is so much to do. There's so much history and culture. If you're a fan of the Beatles, you're going to have an endless amount of things to do there regarding the Beatles. You can go down to the dockyard. There really is. It's just in a very lively, bouncing city full of great people. I always enjoy my stays in Liverpool when I go there. My dream place to visit is a little trickier because there's a few, but I'd probably say Japan. That sounds odd. I can't speak the language. Not sure how to get on with the food. I am quite a fussy eater, but I do find their culture fascinating. Their technology is so advanced, and if we're talking like once in a lifetime, then yeah, that would be the place I choose to go, because I think it would be just such an experience, such an eye-opener as to how different the world can be to each other. I'd love to explore more about the samurai culture as well. I think there's so much to offer in that country, at least in my understanding of it. And the best place I have been to, it's a toss-up. There was a few really beautiful places I've been to. France was very nice, although the people weren't very nice towards us Brits. They quite actively let you know they do not like you. But if you just sort of stay away from the people and mind your own business, France is an absolutely beautiful country. It really is. Versailles was something special. I have that almost like imprinted in my brain, and I went there when I was like 10. I'm like 27 now. I still remember that as if it was yesterday, because it was just that stunning to take in. Poland was also surprisingly beautiful. I remember this gorgeous palace in like the town square of cobbled streets, and there was horse and carriages going by. There was this bizarre sort of market stall place going underneath a stained mosaic ceiling. Again, imprinted on my brain as to just how damn gorgeous this place was. Sadly for Poland though, I actually can't remember what the province was that I stayed in. But yeah, both of them were just absolutely breathtaking places to be. What is at the top of your bucket list? You know me well enough now. It's marrying Jennifer Aniston. But something that's actually a little bit more achievable, because considering it's been 20 odd years now and Jennifer's not even so much looked at me, we still have hope. I definitely want to travel more. I really should travel more. I've been to a lot of places in the UK, but I've not really explored Europe, and I've never been to America, and that one kind of gets me a little bit. I feel like I'm the only person on the planet who's never been to America. And I know that to an American watching this, you're going to laugh your head off, but I've never had a Popeyes, I've never had a Chick-fil-A, I've never been to a Wendy's, a Denny's, or anything like that. I've never been on Route 66, and I'd love to try these things. As small a detail that they are, it's just such a total culture shock to what I'm used to. We have roundabouts, McDonald's, and cabbage fields. That's sort of all that really goes on over here. So you guys kind of got it cooking in comparison. Would you go to a bar dressed as a sexy Santa? Does this not answer your question? What is your ultimate goal in life? I think this is a good one to finish on. I might be really unrealistic or deluded, but I would like to make movies one day. More specifically, direct them. I'm going to have these weird ideas for movies, whether I actually write it or not. I just sort of looked at it and thought, well, I might as well try and make it work. If you don't try, it definitely won't happen. That's kind of the mentality I'm taking of it. I understand it's difficult. I understand not everyone can be Martin Scorsese, but ultimately that isn't really my goal. I just want to be happy in life, and making movies, discussing movies, working in movies, makes me happy. I enjoy spending time with people who like movies, like talking about movies. And I love these people. These people have become some of my new favourite people. And I've found these people through the likes of YouTube and university and studying film. I'm meeting like-minded people. And I'm loving that. So I've waffled my way through that one, but ultimately, I guess it really does just boil down to work in film in some capacity. Hopefully directing, maybe directing a film that I myself have written. That is really the chestnut. I would like to do that one. But I'm not like hell-bent. I'm not like it has to be specifically that. As long as I'm happy, I don't really care. And that was the last question. That brings an end to the Q&A. I want to take this moment and say thank you so much for watching, not just this video, but throughout the whole year. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking my videos. Thank you for commenting. You have been such a huge help for this channel to be in the position that it is right now. You're brilliant. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the new year. Cheers. Ooh, that's a bit punchy.